My name is Elvin Rodriguez, and this is A Moment TV. I was born in Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico in 1947. I stayed there with my grandparents till I was about 4 or 5. My mother sent for my sister first, and then she sent for me and my brother. When we came, she was working, and she was specialized in making the dresses the models would wear. So she had to do it real perfect. My father, his name was Onicifero Rodriguez. He passed away when I was 8 months old. He used to be a carpenter. One time he had an accident and he fell from a roof and got injured. Later on, he passed away from those injuries. I was always curious about things. I recall taking things apart and putting them back together again, and even though I had pieces left over, they worked. I was accepted at FIT. FIT had a photography program, so I went there. It was mandatory that after you graduated from high school that you sign up in the selective service. And it wasn't volunteering, it was mandatory. One day I received a token, and it was a one-way. On top of the letter was taped, and it said, report to Whitehall. They check you out and to pre-qualify you for service. I tried to not go at that time because my brother was overseas. He was in Saigon. And my protest was that my mother was while I was sitting over there with the other recruits, a Marine sergeant walked in the room and he said, we need 2 volunteers for the Marines. I said, you got one. And this guy that I was sitting next to stood up and he says, now you got 2. I went in with the Marine Corps. If I'm going to go over there, I want to get the best training there is. Give myself a fighting chance. They gave us a crash course in boot camp, which normally takes 12 weeks. We did it in 8. After that, they shipped us to Okinawa, and from Okinawa we wound up in Da Nang, and we were 12 miles from the DMZ, so it was like a 4th of July every day. First 2 weeks I was panic-stricken, but after that I just said, if I'm gonna make it out of here, it doesn't matter how I feel or where I hide. If you're gonna die, you're gonna die. I was there 13 months, survived bullets and grenades and rockets and explosions, all the drama that goes with it. One time I was walking, I saw this box and I was by myself thinking about home, and I kicked the box, and underneath the box was this green thing that looked like an avocado, but it was a grenade. The pin was removed and they put a thin wire. If it had moved, it would have blown up. I called the demolition squad and they came and detonated it right where it was. Before leaving, I remember when I got on the truck to go to the airport, I remember seeing my friends behind waving at me, and I'm waving at them back. At the airport, I was sad when the plane took off, and I looked down and I saw all those coffins and thought about my friends, and I'd say, hope you make it back home. When I was in the plane, they gave all the soldiers that were coming back home hot dogs and hamburgers. And the stewardess came up to me and she says, gee, I'm sorry, but we're out of hot dogs and hamburgers. So I said, oh, that's okay, it's okay. I'll just have a coffee. And about 4 minutes later, she came back and she says, would you share these chicken and dumplings with me? And she gave me half her lunch. And I remember that. That was nice.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, plagues many veterans. Some have worked through it. Others continue to seek help.
At that time, I didn't even know what PTSD was, but I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that. I do remember was every time a car would backfire, I would hit the ground like if I was back there. And it took a while for me to get used to the city noise. I have flashbacks and dreams and stuff like that, but never anything severe. I took some time off to get myself together. I was looking for a better job than the one I had, but I couldn't find anything at that time. So I went back to work for Alexander's department store. My wife, Wanda, she used to work in Alexander's, and one day she followed me home. She did. We started going out on a date, and then from there we just dated. I remember my mother saying, if you like that girl, then marry her, don't play games. So I said, well, I don't want to get married. I'm too young for that. I was about 22, 23, around there. I didn't want to get tied down, but you know, one thing led to another, and I saw other girls, but we always came back. Finally, we got married. We had Elvin Jr. When Elvin Jr. was 5 years old, we had Miriam, our first girl. 3 years after that, I wanted another child. We had Wendy. Wanda got an application from Nehemiah Houses. They were doing affordable housing in this block, Trinity. It was full of empty buildings that they tore down. Nehemiah got a hold of the property somehow and decided they wanted to buy affordable housing. So Wanda got an application and we got selected. And after we were selected, she had me cruising around looking at the house as they were building it. And we've been here ever since. The kids grew up over here. Unfortunate because my son married Terry. She's like a daughter to us. They had a child, Chelsea. She's been a terrific kid. Always been good. Chelsea came a few weeks ago. We had a lot of fun. My other granddaughter, it's Wendy's daughter. She's been more important to me than anything else because she's making me want to live, and she makes me draw with her. She makes me put cartoons on the TV. The other day she was putting tape on my fingers, and she taped all my fingers, and then she says, okay, Grandpa, I'll see you in 6 months. I was working for Cornell University as an animal technician. I started getting pains in my legs. I went to the hospital for almost 2 years. I started getting these different ailments. I didn't know what they were because in my family, we were never in the hospital. We were never sick or anything like that. They used to ask me, does your family have diabetes? And I said, no. Anybody else in the family have problems? And I said, no, everybody's healthy. Eventually, they deducted that I was exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam. Agent Orange is a chemical they used to defoliate. And in Vietnam, they used to spray that all over the place to kill vegetation so that the enemy couldn't hide behind it. They didn't know that chemical was harmful to the people that were there. It got in the water, you breathed it, it was in your skin, it was all over the place. After you come back home, you start getting the effects of these chemicals. They use DDT, they use mosquito repellent. I remember one time I sprayed a mosquito and the paint melted from the door. Mosquito kept on flying, but I don't know if he made it. Finally, they had to cut 2 toes off. Then they gave me a bypass on my leg, which they cut from the groin all the way down. They slid my foot to put a plastic vein in there. And that was excruciating. Once that healed, the circulation was still bad, so they had to amputate. And I was lucky because they amputated below the knee. Some people, they amputate above the knee, which is more traumatic, but you don't realize how important your legs are. I still try to walk, but I just can't stay standing up too long. I am Elvin Rodriguez. This is my story, and thank you for watching.